So in this video, I'm first going to analyse Paul Pogba as a player, looking at the type of replacement Manchester United would need should he leave on a free in the summer. I'll then go on to analyse 5 potential Paul Pogba replacements that Manchester United should be considering. And at the end, I'll rank each of these players 1 to 5 in terms of who I think would be the best Paul Pogba replacement. But before that, remember that if you enjoyed this video, to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications when my videos come out. Also go to the description to check out some of my other Manchester United videos, such as my video on how the South American Zidane would set up Manchester United, as well as my match analysis of some of the recent Manchester United games as well. So let's get into it, and I would best describe Paul Pogba as a roaming playmaker who would work best playing in a midfield three, probably with a defensive sitter behind him in the single pivot role, and with a more industrious player alongside him as well, giving him the freedom to either drop deep to help his side progress the ball into the final third, or be the player to move up into the final third and look to create a chance around the box. However, in Solskjaer's 4-2-3-1 system, or in any of the 5 at the back systems he reverts to, Pogba will be asked to play the role of a deeper lying creator, picking the ball up in deeper areas of the midfield rather than playing as a roaming playmaker. He is playing more of a deeper lying playmaker role. Now, just by looking at Paul Pogba's FBref report, you can see he's an elite central midfielder. When compared to every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues over the last 365 days, you can see he ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for assists, shot creating action, shots, progressive passes received and dribbles, as well as progressive carries, and he ranks in the 80th percentile or higher for non-penalty XG, non-penalty goals, expected assists, non-penalty XG plus expected assists and passes attempted, showing that for pretty much every creative and goal scoring metric, Paul Pogba's output is top level. But if Paul Pogba does leave in the summer, which it does look likely at the moment because his contract does expire at the end of the season, United need a replacement who's not a clone of Paul Pogba. They need a player who's going to fit the system slightly better, being able to play more of a deeper line creator role rather than being better suited to that roaming playmaker role, because United's squad is stacked with players who can play between the lines, but they don't have a deeper lying player to progress the ball forward into the final third, and they really need improvements on Fred and McTominay. So even though this is a video looking at a Paul Pogba replacement, you could argue that it's more of a McTominay and Fred offensive upgrade video instead. So I am looking for a player to replace Paul Pogba's creativity, but also bring the defensive qualities and ability to circulate the ball and retain possession when under pressure that Paul Pogba sometimes lacks. So the first player I'm going to suggest is Lyon's Maxence Caqueret, who at the age of just 21 already looks like a top level player. He reminds me a lot of Marco Verratti in the sense that he's very press resistant when under pressure because of his low centre of gravity, enabling him to manoeuvre his body quickly to wriggle out of pressure, and he has phenomenal technical ability in terms of his close ball control, his passing ability in terms of his long passing, short passing, as well as playing incisive passes into players between the lines. But not only will he fill the creative void in that United side that is left with Pogba's departure, but it will also improve United's ability to play out from the back, as he is more press resistant than Paul Pogba, better at circulating the ball quickly, and certainly an improvement on the likes of Fred and McTominay. But despite Caqueret's diminutive appearance, he's actually very good defensively. He's an excellent pressuring central midfielder, able to push up onto his man and put in a tackle, and in one-on-ones in the centre of the field, he's very good as well, able to break up opposition attacks, which is what United currently lack with Fred and McTominay in central midfield. And his FBref report shows how good he is, as he ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for tackles, pressures, dribbles, progressive passes. He ranks in the 80th percentile for blocks, while sitting in the 70th percentile or higher for interceptions, passes attempted, passes completed, and shot creating actions, showing that for pretty much every metric that counts, Caqueret ranks extremely highly, particularly for those defensive metrics, which may be a surprise to many. Caqueret's Lyon contract does expire in the summer of 2023, so come the summer of 2022, he's going to have just 1 year left on his contract, so I reckon he could be available for as little as £25 million, which is an absolute steal for a player who I think will go on to be an elite level midfielder in the mode of someone like Marco Verratti. The next player on my list is Nicolo Barella, and I would compare Barella to a young Luka Modric. He's 24, 25 in February, but already looks like a complete central midfielder. He's got the tenacity, aggression and tackling ability that we saw from Luka Modric during his prime at Real Madrid, with Barella being crucial to Antonio Conte's pressing and defensive system at Inter Milan, being the player to push up onto the opposition player in the final third to apply the pressure, but then having the athleticism to get back into position and following pressing instructions to a T. But along with his industrious nature, he's also an excellent ball carrier, able to dribble out of pressure, which enables his side to beat the opposition's press, with his close ball control enabling him to switch the ball from foot to foot and then drive past an opposition player. But in the middle third, he's also got excellent long passing ability, able to switch the play out to the flank, which is going to be crucial for any quick transition in attack, so it's going to suit the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and even Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Any player who's making a run in behind the opposition's back line is going to be looking forward to Barella's long passing ability. In my opinion, Barella's perfect to play in a midfield double pivot or in a midfield three because he has that mixture of tenacity and creativity. He can play alongside a more destructive player who can sit slightly deeper in possession, and this will give Barella the freedom to push up between the lines when he needs to and be a creative outlet in the final third. Looking at his FB Ref report over the last 365 days, we can see that he's already producing elite level output. When compared to other midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues, he ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for shot creating actions, expected assists, progressive passes received, and in the 80th percentile for non-penalty XG plus expected assists, progressive carries, progressive passes, and touches in the opposition penalty area. And even though his defensive metrics do look quite low from this FB Ref report, that is because he isn't a sole ball winner. He's not going to be an Ndidi type, he's more of a box-to-box central midfielder, and he was playing at Inter Milan, who were the best side in Italy last year, so obviously he has less chance to put in these defensive contributions compared to if he played for a club lower down the table. Now, even though he will have just 2 years left on his contract come the summer, he is going to be expensive, likely costing between 50 and 60 million pounds. Maybe if Inter Milan are still in financial trouble and do need to sell players, United could get him for around 45 million pounds, but I still think it's going to be 50 million pound plus. But I definitely think Barella will go on to be one of the best central midfielders in the world, so 50 million pounds does seem worth it. Particularly when you factor in, of all the players that I'm mentioning, Barella probably has the greatest current ability, so you're getting that instant impact with that big fee. The next player on this list is another Lyon player. It's Bruno Guimaraes, the Brazilian who is currently 23 years old, who was signed from Brazilian club Atlético Paranaense back in January 2020 for a fee in the region of 18 million pounds, and since then he's gone on to be absolutely brilliant for Lyon. And like Caqueret in the Lyon team, he's an all-round central midfielder capable of breaking up the play with industrious tackles in the centre of the park. He's got excellent energy and athleticism, so he suits a pressing side and can play in either a midfield double pivot or a midfield three if needed, and could probably even play as a single pivot as well if given the right tactical structure around him. He can carry the ball through the centre of the pitch, which is obviously a good thing to have as it allows you to bypass the opposition's midfield line, but also when he picks up the ball he's either looking for an incisive pass to other players between the lines of the opposition system or for a long switch of play over to the opposite flank, and this is exactly what United need as it will increase the speed of their interplay in the middle third, enabling them to transition the ball into the final third a lot quicker. But also when in the final third he has the ability to not only create chances but also provide a goal scoring threat, so he's pretty much an all-round central midfielder, and already he looks like an elite level central midfield. And when we look at his FB Ref report we can see the metrics to back this up. He ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for passes attempted, progressive passes, tackles and progressive carries, in the 80th percentile for assists, expected assists, pass completion, pressures, and in the 70th percentile for dribbles completed as well. Now he does have a contract until 2024 and was signed for a fee in the region of 20 million pounds, so he's going to be more expensive than Caqueret. I would estimate that Lyon would be willing to depart with Guimaraes for between 35 and 40 million pounds, which is still an excellent fee considering when you factor in what it would usually cost to sign an elite level central midfielder. The next player on my list is Leicester's Youri Tielemans. Now Tielemans has a contract at Leicester until 2023, so come the summer, like Caqueret at Lyon, he's going to have just 1 year left on his contract, so despite Leicester signing him for nearly 40 million pounds, United can probably land him for between 40 and 50 million pounds, even though if he was under a longer contract, he'd likely cost upwards of 70 to 80. Now even though 40 to 50 million pounds is still a lot of money, Tielemans is definitely worth it. I think he's best described as a deep line playmaker, able to play in a midfield double pivot or a midfield three, and he's a good progressor of the ball in terms of being able to play out of a high press, being able to circulate the ball well, playing incisive and long passes to move the ball into the opposition's half and defensive third, but he's also a creative and goal scoring threat in the final third as well. He's a very good long shooter finisher, able to shoot from the edge of the box or from further distance, which is always a great attribute to have from any player in your side, but he can also create chances for others with his subtle passes around the box, and he'd work perfectly alongside a more destructive ball-winning player who's going to sit deep, allowing Tielemans to be the player in the double pivot to push up, as we do see Pogba do when he plays there for Solskjaer. But Tielemans is a lot better than Pogba defensively. He's very good at putting in tackles, and he's not a liability in terms of his positioning either, so he would be an upgrade for United in terms of the defensive contribution as well. If we look at his FBref report, we can already see he's producing elite level output. He ranks in the 90th percentile over the last 365 days when compared to every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues for expected assists, shot creating actions and progressive passes, and in the 80th percentile for shots, non-penalty XG plus expected assists, passes, and in the 60th percentile for things like dribbles, progressive passes received, and non-penalty XG, showing that Tielemans isn't just useful in terms of progressing the ball into the final third, but also creating and scoring when United get there. The next player on this list is Borussia Mönchengladbach's 24-year-old, who will be 25 in March, German central midfielder Florian Neuhaus. Neuhaus is 6'1", 6'2", but he's extremely elegant for such a tall central midfielder. With the ball at his feet, he's able to move his body so fluidly, allowing him to move away from opposition players and drive out of the opposition's press. Neuhaus and Caqueret are two of the most aesthetically pleasing central midfielders to watch in Europe. And like Caqueret, Neuhaus is an excellent progressor of the ball in terms of his long passing ability, but he also has the ability to see runners in behind the back line, playing through balls from deeper positions, and Neuhaus is more suited than someone like Paul Pogba at playing in those deeper central midfield positions, and being the main player to progress the ball into players between the lines to help the attack move forward. But when he is in the final third around the box, he's got a decent shot on him, able to place the ball into the net, so that is another useful aspect of his game. So if he's partnered alongside another destructive player, as I've said for a lot of players on this list, that could really get the best out of him. And certainly from a defensive point of view, he's a lot more defensively secure than someone like Fred or Pogba, so instantly that's going to make United a lot better without the ball. So now, after briefly analysing each player individually, I'm going to rank each player 1 to 5 on who I think would be the best Paul Pogba replacement, and I am going to assume that Manchester United will look to bring in another central midfielder, so this player is going to be brought in to replace the creative aspects of Paul Pogba in central midfield, rather than a player to completely revamp the whole of United midfield, which is obviously going to be bringing in a more defensive-minded central midfielder as well. So my top 2 are going to be Tielemans and Barella, and I'll come on to which one I would prefer in just a sec, but the other 3 I've separated, because even though I do think they are very good players, I just think Tielemans and Barella are a level above. I think in the next few seasons we could see Bruno Guimaraes move into that bracket as well, but at the moment I would segregate Barella and Tielemans from the other lot, though I do still think all 5 would be excellent Paul Pogba replacements. Ranking these 3, I go for Neuhaus in 5th, Caqueret in 4th, and Bruno Guimaraes in 3rd. Like the others, Tielemans and Barella are excellent in terms of progressing the ball forward, they're excellent in terms of being press resistant, able to play up the opposition's press, and in the middle third they're excellent at moving that ball into the final third, but I do think these 2 add more in the final third, which would be what you really want to look for in a Paul Pogba replacement. I think Tielemans in particular, his long shooting ability is definitely going to replace that aspect that Pogba has in his game, but I think Barella's creative ability is very underrated as well in the final third, and I think if you have him moving forward, have a player alongside him, a ball winner, sitting slightly deeper, you can have Barella in behind the 3 behind Ronaldo, and I think Barella would work excellently in this midfield role, playing as a box-to-box midfielder, and Barella is excellent in terms of his dribbling, progressing the ball forward, and that's why I would have him as my first choice. I genuinely think Barella is probably one of the top 5 central midfielders in world football at the moment. He reminds me a lot of Luka Modric, and I can see him developing into that sort of player. Tielemans is very good as well, but I don't think he's at Barella's level just yet, and Barella would be very expensive, 50 to 60 million pounds, Tielemans as well, but it would depend on whether Inter Milan want to let Barella go. I imagine that would depend on their financial situation, so if Manchester United couldn't bring in Barella, I would definitely suggest they bring in Tielemans instead. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, check out some of my other videos linked in the description below, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.